This is Mr. Martin. These are video notes. We're still in Unit 1. This is graphing logarithms. So the first part of your notes here are 5 problems that should be review. The fifth one just kind of tests the concept to see how you, or the sixth one. So go ahead and do those 5 problems, and then we will talk about those when we meet again in class. So 1 through 5, go ahead and pause the video and work those out. And actually 1 through 6. And when you finish those, you can go ahead and restart the video, and we're going to start talking about graphing logarithms. So pause the video now and work on those problems. Okay, the first graphing problem here, we want to graph f of x is equal to log base 3 of x. So initially what we're going to do here is I'm going to find the inverse of this function, and I'm going to graph the inverse of this as well so we can see. I think the inverse will be a little bit easier to graph, to find numbers that we'll plug in. And once we do that, then we'll go ahead and we'll make a table for log base 3 of x, and we'll graph that as well. So let's look at the inverse first. So I'm going to switch my x and y like normal. X is equal to the log base 3 of y. Then we need to get rid of that log, so the inverse of a log is an exponent. So I'm going to take each side and make it an exponent with a base of 3 to match the base of my log. And then this 3 and that log cancel out. So I'm left with f inverse of x is equal to 3 to the x. And I'm going to make a small chart of values here. And I'm actually going to start with -2, and I'm going to go every 1 unit up to 2. So I'm going to use these 5 values. So 3 raised to the -2, I know when I have a negative exponent that actually makes it a fraction. So if it was 3 squared, it would be 9, so it's 3 to the -2, so that's 1/9. And 3 to the -1st is 1/3. Anything raised to the 0 is 1. And then 3 to the 1st is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these 5 points here. So I have -2 1/9. We'll just kind of estimate it right there. And then -1 1/3, and 0 1, and 1 3. And 2, 9, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 up there. And then we'll just kind of sketch in a smooth curve for that. So we know it's going to approach the x-axis, but there's no way to make that negative. So that's going to look like this. It's going to approach the x-axis on the left side there. Alright. And now that we have this chart, in order to graph the original function, which is the inverse of the one that we graphed, all we need to do is interchange our x's and y's. So I'm going to have x, I'm going to have f of x. And now I'm going to take my y values, 1/9, 1/3, 1, 3, and 9. And I know since these two functions are inverses, if I substitute these into my original equation here for x, log base 3 of 1/9 is going to be -2. Log base 3 of 1/3 is going to be -1. Log base 3 of 1 is going to be 0. And then 1. And then 2. Again, notice how our x's and y values, they just switch. Okay, so again, I think it's a little bit easier to graph the inverse of the log, graph the exponent. Then you just have to interchange the x's and y's. And we can go ahead and graph the original log function. So I have 1/9 -2, so somewhere around here. And then 1/3 -1, 1 0, 3 1, and 9 2, 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 2. And again, we're just going to draw in a nice smooth curve. In this case, it's going to approach the y-axis as an asymptote, and then come along this way. Alright, so this blue curve now, this is f of x over here, and I've got f inverse of x over here, and we can see, here's my line y equals x. We can see graphically that these two are reflections of each other over the line y equals x. So there's y equals x. Alright. So we've got two more graphs over here. What I want you to do is go ahead and graph these two, and then we'll talk about them in class and see how you did on those. And I'm going to end the video here, and we'll start the next video at the throwback. So we'll see you then.